Our interview today is with Andy Dinkin. Andy is the owner of the Seals USA, which is a gasket specialist for commercial kitchens.
Yeah, so we were wondering what are the most common health inspection failures you see in commercial kitchens related to gaskets or refrigeration seals?
Well, in our product, it's either tear or molds, or in some cases, the because of the gasket failure, the door itself isn't sealing, and therefore it's creating temperature control issues within the unit itself.
Okay.
I'll ask that next one. Is there inventory management affected by the new tariffs? So are any of the new tariffs kind of affecting the prices on anything? And
It,
if they do
it,
just-in-time orders, what who bears the inventory risk? So like, or do we have any inventory risk from the tariffs?
so at this point, no. Our products are made of rubber compounds, so we're buying from U.S. based extruders and magnet makers. So we have not had any impact from the tariffs. And we are buying from wholesalers who are really carrying the supply chain risk. However, their risk could become our risk. I mean, if they have gummed up issues with their supply chain and we can't get our products, that would be problematic. One of the reasons why we have one main supply chain, but we also have a secondary, and I have relationships with the third, and in a jam could get back into manufacturing ourselves. But
I mean, I could ask you this because I know personally, say would the tariffs have a price effect on the door closers that we got from China or no?
conceivably they could. They haven't yet.
Okay.
And again, honestly, as a businessman, I haven't spent that much time on it because we have virtually no exposure to the Chinese tariffs. So not on my radar very much or really at all.
I'll ask you this question next. So, what process do you use to schedule and dispatch your field technicians? Is there a business law related question here? So, do you have is there any kind of schedule that you use to dispatch your field technicians?
No, but I would say in some respects that this may be where the most business law aspect of my business, in the sense that, I have a pretty in-depth employment agreement. It has a non-compete provision. It has a non-solicitation provision. Those things are important to me because I want to hire the best and the brightest. And when you hire the best and the brightest, sometimes the best and the brightest, want to go off and do their own thing. And I'd be happy to support and spawn other entrepreneurs, but I don't want to bring in the best and brightest and then have them raid the roost and take my customer base. So um, it's a long-winded way of saying by having good guys on straight commission, I expect them to manage their territory and handle their own dispatch and to have a fire in their belly to provide good service. But that employment agreement is important to me, and there's been no legal issue that I've had to deal with more in my professional career than it has than when it comes to non-compete, non-solicitations. I've had many a mediation and court dealings with people that tried to violate those agreements, and I lawyered up and fought those with great vigor.
Yes, sir. All
So
right.
I'm sure for that same question, you have something about like overtime laws and stuff like that you have to follow for that too.
Yeah, there are. I mean, it's essentially I have to pay guys at what would amount to a minimum of minimum wage. So while my guys are on straight commission, I am mindful that if somebody had a month that we eyeballed and looked exceptionally low, we would then make sure we're meeting the standard of at least um, paying minimum wage.
100%.
So do you use long-term service contracts with clients, and what do those typically cover?
No, I wish I could. It would increase the value of my business, but my industry doesn't really lend itself to it. Nobody else is doing it. And so part of my philosophy as a businessman is it is hard to teach an old dog new tricks. And so the marketplace isn't really signing contracts for what I do. So We don't sign them. Our pitches, we got to earn it every day, every week, every month, every quarter. But from a business and legal standpoint, we invoice our customers. We view that as a binding agreement. Some customers, we've had customers that haven't paid. We've taken customers to small claims court. We've turned customers over to collection agencies.
Mhm. All
So
right.
we've had some of that.
What legal form of business did you choose for the seals? So, what is it? The options.
We're an LLC.
Hmm.
And as an LLC, you can choose if you want to file as an S corp or a C corp. So we're an LLC, a single member LLC. We file as an S corp, because it's just the most tax advantageous way for me as as the 100% owner of the business to maximize or really to minimize my tax exposure.
Yeah, and running up on that, what kind of contracts are the most important to your business?
Me, the employment agreement
Yeah, you jumped on earlier about how yeah, 100%.
by far and away.
Mhm. And then which regulatory agencies does your business work with, and how do you stay compliant with all their rules?
Well, really, I just the North Carolina Secretary of State. I have to file an annual business registration and re-registration. It's like $150 fee that I just do through their website. That's really the only regulatory body I work through. Our customers are impacted by health inspections, so that sort of dovetails into our business, but that's not a direct regulatory issue for me as an owner of the business.
All right.
Since like Charlotte is so like heavy in food and like refrigerations, like is there any license or permits are required for you to operate in Charlotte?
Well, not for what we do, no. If we went deeper within the refrigeration units themselves, we'd have to be licensed. And, when you're involved in Freon and other things, there is a different level of accreditation, but we don't get into that. So, no,
So you don't have to be certified or anything, any of your workers? Okay.
no, correct.
Know how to use it.
Who are your main suppliers for materials like rubber or magnets?
Yeah, we buy finished goods from a couple main suppliers. One is called Gaskets Unlimited out of Atlanta, Georgia. They're dealing with the rubber extruders and magnet makers and selling us a finished good. We have another provider out of the suburbs of Orlando called Total Refrigeration Gaskets.
Okay. And then kind of piggybacking off that, do you have any patents, trademarks, or proprietary designs, and how do you protect your brand's reputation?
Um, the trademarks on the logo and the brand, the seals. Yeah, no patented products, but the logo, the name, the seals gasket specialist, that's all
Okay. And
trademarked.
this is kind of a running into a deeper kind of thing. How do health and safety regulations such as local health codes or FDA standards influence your company's policies for maintaining and replacing refrigeration gaskets and seals?
Well, it directly affects our customers. So we're just sort of uh, we are sort of we become the byproduct of those inspections. They affect our customers and in turn affect us.
100%.
Okay, what legal or regulatory considerations such as labor laws, overtime, and
Oh,
like affect how you're scheduled to dispatch field technicians? I think we already covered it.
You talked about that earlier with how you have to pay them kind of like that minimum if it gets to the minimum.
correct. Yeah.
So
Uh,
what it sounds like we've talked about is, being kind of somebody that is there for the restaurants and there for the owners is kind of like a second hand person. You really don't have to dive into a whole bunch of the regulatory stuff and getting all of the certificates and all that kind of stuff for all the technicians and everything, right?
that's right. I mean, in some respects, we're in a very non-regulated industry. I mean,
Mhm.
the gasket replacement industry isn't really a sophisticated group. There's, no associations, no unions. It's yeah,
And
very unregulated.
as a business owner, you like that, right? It's easier to
I,
be
I like it. Yeah, it's very easy.
it's easier to not be as regulated. Well, that concludes our interview. We're very thankful for that, and thank you.
All right, nice to meet you.
This is an example of a ripped gasket. This is that same door with the brand new gasket that the seals put on. Here's another example of a ripped gasket.
So here's an example of some of the products that we use. This would go on a hot side unit, so anything that would use to hold pizzas or hot bread. This would be a half drawer gasket that they would put on a half door refrigerator. And then deeper in this box, we have strip curtains. So these strip curtains go in a walk-in freezer or a walk-in cooler that helps keep all the cold air inside. These are examples of the countless profiles that we have to memorize and use for refrigerators. Every refrigerator has a specific type of gasket that it uses. So they all have different, we call these darts that go into the gasket that help it stick in there. So you see how all of these are different, all different shapes and sizes. All of these are made for specific refrigerators, different brands. And this is some of the equipment we use. We have a heat gun. That's when you use the heat gun to help the gasket expand so it can stick to the cooler magnet. We have a mallet here that helps getting the gasket in. We have our power tools and our screws that we use. We have a lighter in case we need to close the ends of a gasket. Just a lot of various equipment here.